Smile.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Filipino Freethinkers podcast. That's also a video. I'm Red,
You're Dustin.
I'm Dustin. He's
I'm Frank.
and together we are going to talk about exorcisms. In particular, there's one that happened in San Fernando, La Union, where a, a girl or five girls were.
Well, actually, it's, a mix.
Okay,
Group.
it's a. Oh, there
Five
were
kids.
five kids. Okay, one was a girl, right?
I'm not sure about their gender.
The one in this news article, at least, that there was this girl who was struggling. It's all in the video. You can look at the link and watch it if you like, and then come back here when you're done. What happened was they were taking a photo, a selfie,
by
by a duhat tree in La Union. And of course, when you take selfies by duhat trees in the provinces, what can you expect, right?
Yeah, naturally.
Naturally, it will lead to
Demonic
possessions, right?
I
and
mean,
yeah,
that's inevitable.
it's inevitable. It's science.
Yeah, it's a science.
And but let's take this topic seriously because these kids did exhibit some symptoms of something that wasn't healthy. They're obviously not okay. And thankfully, there's the token person of science in this video that said, she was a psychologist, said it could have been symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. It could have been, dissociative identity disorder. When this stuff happens, you don't have to always attribute it to demons or spirits possessing people, because what proof do we have of stuff like that? And this is one of my problems when it comes to magical thinking. You think that it can't be so harmful until stuff like this happens.
Right.
And the Vatican, like just at the start of this month, if I'm not mistaken, further legitimized this whole business of demonic possessions when they recognized the International Association of Exorcists and Ghostbusters. I don't remember the name. Here's an article. You can read more about it. It's apparently a group of 250 exorcists and or Ghostbusters from 30 countries from all over the world. And their job, of course, is to perform exorcisms.
But now they're recognized by the Pope, and it sort of makes it more official. Like, yeah, there is such a thing as demonic possession, and these guys can help you.
Yeah. And the danger, of course, is that they do not get the appropriate care and treatment that they need, right? When drugs can help, when treatment, when psychotherapy can help, they're not getting diagnosed properly, for one, because when people in the provinces see children acting out in certain ways, the first thing that comes to mind is
Demonic possession.
demonic possession.
That's true. Also, with regard to demonic possession, and some of their beliefs include stages. I mean, the stage wherein they spasm is viewed as extreme, but there are subtle stages with regard to demonic possession, including Beyonce's alter ego. Many Catholics view her alter ego, Sasha something.
Oh, I didn't know she had an
I
alter
don't
ego.
know this.
her pop Sasha. I forgot her alter ego name. It's considered as a form of demonic possession because apparently, if you're, for example, a homosexual, or you watch porn, or you are pagan,
Yeah.
these are symptoms of demonic possession already.
crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just some bit of trivia.
Or if you do drugs or have premarital sex, you are somehow possessed.
So you're influenced by the devil to do these things that you're not
Exactly.
supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you need an exorcist to take the evil out of you.
The first guidelines released by the Catholic Church related to exorcism was in the year 1614, if I'm not mistaken, and they further added to those guidelines in 1999 when they included such symptoms as excessive masturbation. So by that symptom, I know a lot of people who are actually demonically possessed.
Yes.
Yeah.
That exorcism group has a lot of stuff on their hands to try to fix in the world.
They said, there was this, I'll let you get back to your information about the other symptoms. But there was apparently a huge explosion of the need for exorcism, and of course the demonic possession to match that need, when people started to watch so much TV and media, and there were a lot of demonic symbols. I bet you could add into there the backmasking and the eraser heads and
Yeah.
the deal they made with the devil, and apparently reading tarot cards also, and the neo-pagan religions also
And
contributed to
and the Illuminati,
and the
And the Illuminati as well.
yeah,
because it's a demonic cult.
Hail Hydra
Yeah.
also.
I've had my own brush with demonic possession. I think from
Whoa.
a year ago.
You were possessed.
You
No, I wasn't
excessively
possessed.
masturbated.
I wish it was that. But it was more of my father was having one of his lots constructed. They
Yeah.
needed construction people. So he hired a bunch of construction workers and then he realized, we need to more help. So he also hired a number of people from the same community, this time maids, in order to help clean up.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a few days, strange things started to happen.
Hmm.
The maid claimed one of the maids claimed that she was seeing an evil spirit
Mhm.
that said that my father had to leave the house because the evil spirit wanted to kill my niece.
Okay.
Oh.
And then later on, one of the sons of the workers, the son started. He fell to the ground. He spasmed and started screaming profanities.
Hmm.
So the other workers were trying to hold him down, but they were flying off him because he was super
Whoa.
strong.
Hmm.
However, one of the strange things that happened was when my brother came over, and while this demon possession was going on, he attempted to drive out the devil by punching the possessed in the stomach.
Holy crap.
And then the possessed said, "The devil's gone, the devil's gone." Alright, so here's what really was happening. They staged a demon possession so that my father would pay for a spiritual aid, who happens to be the grandmother of one of these workers. And after which he would have to leave the home because of some ritual that had to be performed where only the affected are present.
Uh-huh.
So the plan was probably that the moment my dad leaves,
They would rob the place.
they would rob the place.
Oh.
So it's a modus that
Yeah,
a lot
okay.
of people develop in order to exploit people who specifically believe in demon possessions. There's actually a modus for it because of how gullible people who believe in demon possessions are.
Right. And I would not recommend punching people in the stomach in case
Punch
it
the
might
devil
not be
in
an
the
act. It might
face.
actually be a seizure. You don't want to punch people in the
That's
stomach
true.
when they're having a seizure or any time at all.
Yeah.
Do you have any experience brushes with exorcism?
Actually, not in with anyone I know, but there was always stories, of course, in schools like this happened in this class, but never happened in ours. But it's always the same thing. Like someone would be writhing in the ground, just having something that's like a seizure, and then priests would be called in, and they would perform some exorcism on the person or anyone around, and always in the stories I've heard, it's always been that the children were acting out to get attention, and it's never they would always confess that they just wanted the attention or they just wanted to be
They confessed.
famous. Yeah,
Oh.
they would speak
Wow.
out and say that yeah, it wasn't really a possession.
Yeah, this trying to get attention is kind of it nicely ties into the means that they got possessed. It was through selfies, right?
Yeah, well that's yeah.
And it's probably one of the most talked about selfies in a long time, because it led to all of this demonic possession and all that. Now I want to talk a bit about two experiences I had related to demonic possession. So the first one was in my high school, Saint Benedict College. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, or San Beda Alabang, or I don't know what it's called now. They keep on changing their name. But what happened was several girls, like from what I remember, a lot of them were girls, were demonically possessed. I mean, they showed the symptoms. They would write on the ground, and it would be hard to hold them down. And but not only that, a lot of people around them, mostly guys, their third eye suddenly opened up, and they would
They could
confirm.
see
Yeah,
things.
yeah, they would confirm to each other. I can actually see all of these evil creatures.
Do they see the same thing? Do they confirm
of course they
each
don't.
other's
I don't know. Of course, we didn't really
test them?
Yeah, a lot of people were afraid, and it apparently had to do with a groundbreaking ceremony that was happening like in the new college building that they were putting up. So I heard that some exorcisms, or rather cleansing rituals, of the grounds were done so that the things wouldn't happen again. And there was a big controversy because this guy wasn't a Catholic or something like that.
The person who was possessed.
The person who did the cleansing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and this one is the more notable one because I was there. Okay, the Asian hospital, which is still up, I think it's still up and running up to this day. The entire fifth floor of that building was closed down because apparently there were evil spirits there, and they had to call the Ghostbusters of that time, the Spirit Questers. They're now called something else, I think ESP, or Esoteric Society of the Philippines now. So they were called to do an, I don't know, when you try to exorcise spirits from a building, is that still an exorcism?
I don't know if it's,
or
not,
it's a
if it's
ghost
not Catholic.
busting.
It's a ghost busting, I guess.
Okay, they were to do a ghost busting, and I was lucky enough with my brother to be able to tag along. So we witnessed the ritual that they did. Like they had this medium who let the spirits enter him, and they did a negotiation, and all sorts of magical creatures, ents and giants
We're there.
and yeah, think of Lord of the Rings. Think of
Saruman.
so many elemental spirits were there all around, and it was very fun. But I didn't notice anything really. I wanted to see something, but there weren't anyone there. And a few years later, when I became as skeptical as I am now, I challenged the people from this Esoteric Society of the Philippines because they routinely, I suppose, encounter experiences like this. I challenged them to take the $1 million challenge. Here's a link to information about that. I was allowed by the people from the JREF to take the challenges here in the Philippines, to represent them here in the Philippines, to take the preliminary challenges. And they declined. They didn't want
The $1 million.
the $1 million because what they are doing is not for personal gain, but to help others. And you can help others with $1 million. I mean, you
Yeah, you
can
can help more.
You can help a lot
you
of
can
people
donate to
with $1 million.
charity. You can make an esoteric society of the Philippines building
It will
make
improve your negotiations with the ghost. Here's $1 million. Yeah.
Well, I think the very goal there is,
Yeah.
or the message that they're trying to send is that we need people to protect us from demons or
Yeah.
that evil spirits. However, the strange thing is, with regard to demon possession, 90% of all cases that are reported happen to Catholics and Christians. So, statistically speaking, the best way to avoid a demon possession or to protect yourself from it is, I guess, to not be Catholic or Christian because there's only a 10% chance. I mean, among all the cases, only 10% happen to other people.
So what we can conclude from that is when the devil looks around for people to possess,
They look for Christians
Catholics and Christians. Because,
and that's
yeah.
actually another myth that's propagated with the Catholic mythos that the more faithful you are, the devil would come to tempt you, like Jesus was in the Mount.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
again, people who are possessed are it's an exhibit of or an exhibition of their piety, like their faith. Like I'm being tested by the demon because I'm so faithful.
Yeah.
So again, like when you do something like that, it calls attention to yourself. Like, look how faithful I am. I'm being the
possessed.
devil himself is testing
Yeah,
me in the
yeah,
same
yeah.
way that the devil tried to tempt Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that cause people to become possessed.
Yeah.
Their desire to be possessed, for their faith to be tested, to verify their own, to verify or validate their own faith.
So regardless of how conscious these people who are getting possessed, like get the devil, so to speak, to enter them, it always is I think, or at least 90% of the time, is a necessity for them to know the lore. You have to know the lore. If you don't
Yeah.
know the lore,
Yeah.
then how would you know how you would act out?
Yeah.
Like you could, I don't know, sing like what the fox says, and that has nothing to do with demonic possession. I mean, you can.
It's an earlier stage. According
It's
to,
it's an earlier.
When you
It's
start
another
singing
symptom.
that.
yeah,
Okay.
it's an earlier stage when you
Singing
sing pop
Elvis
songs,
songs.
Oh.
songs about sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or when you like it,
Yeah.
it's the demon that's making you like it.
It's a similar case to people who have these out of body experiences, particularly the ones where you stimulate sections of the brain. Like the imagery that they see is always related to whatever kind of cultural mythos that they're used to, right? So you won't have someone who has no idea of demons and angels see demons and angels. It's really embedded in your psyche, and that's I think that's something that's harmful. I think. I recently read another article. Here's a link to it that's saying how children who are raised in a religious tradition finds it more difficult to tell fact from fiction.
Yep.
All right.
So their skepticism is just stunted. I think they just tend to believe more magical things when they're exposed to these kinds of lore, and people like Pope Francis and the Vatican, they do nothing to help these children become more skeptical by recognizing associations of Ghostbusters as official Catholic organizations.
Connected to what you said before, yeah, I think the belief in religion, the belief in gods and other supernatural things, like necessitates a belief in the opposite power, the demons, and the same way that belief in the positive supernatural things is dangerous, the negative is also bad. Like you said, it requires knowledge of the mythos for you to put together the language of demons and angels
And to
into the things
construct
that
your
you're
personal
seeing.
narrative.
Yeah, you're constructing the narrative in your head, so you're seeing a same blur. But to one person who has this idea of demons in their head, they're gonna see a demon, and then they're gonna create a society, which we have now, of people who believe in demons and have real life actions to solving an imaginary problem or a problem that should be solved with more scientific things.
Yeah.
So where you would treat hallucinations or seizures with scientific solutions, instead, because they have the language and the mythology of demons, then they try these supernatural solutions, which we all know is not true and can in fact be harmful when you're holding down a person who's undergoing a seizure, and when you're sprinkling them with water when instead you should be giving them drugs to calm them down or to give them psychological help that they need. The Just putting stories in their head about what they're experiencing is very, very dangerous.
And my last point has to do with compartmentalizing, particularly how few people are able to do just that. A lot of people, when they believe magical things, I mean, they can't, focus it on just one thing, on just, believing in God, believing in devils. Suddenly also believe in vampires, or aswang, or
Right.
manananggal, or
Right.
duende.
Because you can't tell anymore.
You can't tell anymore. I mean, they're all just these things that are suddenly possible. If if you throw science out the window, you'll just believe any old thing that enough people also believes, and especially in a very superstitious country, that can be the case. And let's not forget about the real things, the pseudo-scientific things like um, alternative medicine,
Right.
or conspiracy theories, or the theory or the story that Marcos was such an awesome guy. I mean, how do you keep people from being skeptical when this very important part of their life, like angels and demons, they are not skeptical about that. So where do you draw the line? And at first it's demons, and then it's voting
Right.
people like whoever.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to increase the level of critical thinking in the Philippines, because we were raised by our parents to just believe what they say, to just accept what they're saying, and that comes with being taught religion. And so if your parents just start you off by saying it's just that way, just believe it, and then you apply that as you're growing up, and even as an adult, you just believe things people tell you. That's a very dangerous thing.
Yeah. So last note. Picking up from where Frank left off, skepticism is very important, and one particular issue where you need to see both sides of the story, you need to read a lot, is what's happening in Israel, and the conflict between them and Hamas.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people have very quick conclusions about it, but we would rather that you look at all sides of the issue. Start with Wikipedia. That's not a bad place to start, but don't end there. Read a lot. It's what's happening there is horrible, and
Yeah, what I have to add is that what's important is that you do read about it and you form an opinion on it. It's not something that it's too complicated. It goes back so far back that you'll never figure it out. It is a real life issue and people are suffering because of it. And at the very least, what you could do is educate yourself and learn enough about it to form an opinion.
Okay, and if you want to talk about this particular podcast or what's happening in Israel or wherever, do join our next meetup, which we will post on our website and Facebook channels. And till then, thank you for watching.